Hi guys, it's Matt. Welcome to the video. I am a compulsive gambler in recovery and I'm your mind and movement mentor here to help you. So absolutely delighted today to be joined by Daniel from Addicted Recovery, one of my favorite channels to watch for gambling recovery. Guys, really fantastic. I think you're really going to enjoy this. So welcome, Daniel.
Mate, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you, mate. Really looking forward to this one. So I know you've got a really fascinating story that I want to hear all about. So I want to crack into it and please share what you're happy to do. I'm always fascinated to start with people by asking what their earliest memory of gambling was and how maybe this was or wasn't problematic, bigger picture.
So 12 years old when I started playing fruit machines, slots, pokies, whatever you want to call them. My mum and dad had divorced 6 months previous before I started gambling, so I can't help but feel it was an escape instantly because I never processed my dad leaving. It was sort of just brushed under the rug, swept under the rug. And yeah, 6 months later I was on the slot machines, and I remember our local club where all my family would go. So my mum is one of 8 children, so I've got lots of aunties and uncles, lots of cousins. So there'd always be cousins the same age as me running around, and there'd always be me and 2 other cousins playing the fruit machine around the corner. My granddad was actually an illegal bookie, so every time he'd come round the corner, we had to hide away to pretend like we weren't on the machine because he'd have a go at us. He was on the right side of the fence, if you like. I was always on the wrong side of the fence, but that has always been my earliest memory, just that thrill of doing something I wasn't supposed to, being a little bit naughty playing this fruit machine, and then the sound of just the pound coins coming out. This is obviously 26 years ago now, so none of this cards or paying with notes. It was always pound coins and just the sound of those coins coming out. Yeah, amazing. But my first big win, there's 2 of them 2 years later at age 14, so still pretty young. The one that sticks out the most is this horse race. So I've got a family member called Georgie. There's a horse called Chief Dan George, obviously Dan, my name, and my family member's name. So my whole family had bet on it. My mum, my dad was there, my sister, my brother-in-law, my brother, me. And the horse is just a mile back. Like the horse is so far back in the race, like it's lost. I found out afterwards the in-running odds on Betfair actually went out to 999 to 1. That's how far back it was. Somehow Tony McCoy, a very famous jockey in England, got the horse going and he ended up winning the race. I couldn't tell you how much money I had on it. I was only 14, but just the thrill of being dead and buried, being dead in the water. The bet was down, the horse was gone. It was so far back and it come back through and won. Just the sheer euphoria of the whole room. It was like my whole family was there. Like I said, my dad was there as well. It was in my mum's living room. So I think it was like my family unit was all connected again and all bonded. So again, I'm going to link that back to the divorce, where I feel like it brought us all back together and it got us together as a family again. The other win that year was more of an isolated one. I did a football accumulator. I think it was £1, and I picked 4 teams. 2 of them were draws, and the 2 teams that I'd picked to win were both home and dry, home and hosed. And then the third game scored in about the 89th minute to equalise the game. So I've now got 3 out of 4 up, but I'm now in the 90th minute. And I remember it 24 years later. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Coventry City. 93rd minute, 2-2. This one, I remember the money because this was just an isolated incident done by myself. I wasn't with the family. I won £140. But again, just that sheer joy, excitement, thrill, euphoria of the bet coming in right at the last possible moment. Like if my bet had won in the first minute of the game, by the 90th minute when the game was finished, I don't think I would have had the excitement anymore. But the fact it came in with literally the last kick of the game, I remember watching it on Gillette Soccer Saturday, and just, yeah, I've got to be careful. I'm getting excited now thinking about it again. But they were the early memories, the early wins, the thing I link my addiction back to, definitely where it all started.
Gosh, you had me going on a roller coaster there on those, especially the horse racing one. It's like, had me hanging on every word, dopamine firing off left and right. It's, yeah, it's quite something for that to happen at a young age, I think. The term sort of chasing the dragon gets used in regard to addiction, and the way I interpret that is almost like there's a euphoric point that is like your first time or something, and then you spend the rest of your addiction trying to get back to that time in your head, watching that horse run or watching that late goal in that game, which is actually impossible because the brain's released the endorphins or whatever it's done in that time. But like, yeah, some story. Wow. Okay, so this is still very young. So how did things progress from here?
It's funny that you've just said it's impossible to recreate that moment. Wait till I get to age 19 and I'll surprise you. But age
Okay.
16 was the first ever time it got out of control. So gambling was accepted in my family. Like I said, I was age 14 and my whole family were betting on this horse. We were all doing it together. I remember age 16, I've said to my mum, it's late at night. My mum's going to bed. I said, can I just use your credit card? Can I just put £10 in my poker account? This is, I keep saying 20, 22, 24 years ago. So the online verification stuff wasn't as quite as intense as it is now. So I was able to create a Bet365 account from the age of 16, and I was playing poker online, and I got my mum's card, and I remember depositing the £10, and that little tick box, remember this card. I just remember ticking it just in case I use it again in the future, just to make it easy. Put the £10 in, I've give the card back to my mum, and she's gone to bed. And then I've started playing poker, riding this roller coaster for the entire evening. When my mum has woke up the next morning, I've deposited a total of £1,600. Just chasing. I've lost this £10. I want to play a little bit longer. Another £10. I've lost that. I want to play a little bit longer. And before I knew it, I'd put money in that. Oh no, I can't tell my mum about this now. I need to win it back. So I'm already at the point where my mum's going to see all these deposits. So there's no going back now, but I need to put the money back. So I've got to win the money back. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, £1,600 by the next morning. I was petrified. Couldn't tell her that I'd done this, so I just ignored it and was hoping it was going to go away. And I remember about three or 4 days later, my mum's come and sat in the living room next to me and said, I've had a letter off the internet company, which I remember was FreeServe at the time. She said, I've had a letter off the internet company, FreeServe, saying they were unable to take the money from my account this week or this month. Do you know anything about it? And I told her what I'd done. Discipline was never a big thing in my house. My mum just looked at me in disbelief and then left the room. And then, like, she was sort of funny with me. She was off with me for a day or two. And then things were just back to normal after that. It was never spoken about. It was never addressed. I was never punished. My mum was never one for discipline. I love my mum unconditionally. I wouldn't change her for the world. There was no discipline there. I never got in trouble for it. My mum was angry with me for a couple of days, and then she was just back to normal again. So it was just swept under the rug, if you like. So it never got addressed. And the betting just carried on for the next 2 years until I was on Bet365. I was doing sports bet until the age of 18. Then I was allowed to go into the casinos. I was legal. I could do my gambling in person. And I remember on my 18th birthday, I applied for 5 credit cards. All 5 of them approved. I couldn't tell you how long, but I don't think it was more than a month. All 5 of them were maxed out. They were all gone. Just cash advances, losing them all. There was free casinos in Liverpool, and I'd often go to all 3 in a night if I could. I remember one particular night with a friend. We'd won in the first 2 casinos, and this should have been a red flag there. And then we said, let's go to the other one. Let's go and win in all 3. Now I've come out of the addiction, I can just see so many red flags that it was never about the money. It was just about the reputation. It was about staying in the bet, staying in the game, keep that dopamine coming, keep that thrill, not wanting it to end. But whilst I'm in it, I'm convinced it's about the money. I was just convinced once I get that big win, I'll stop. So age 19, Betfair, playing roulette online. And I can't remember what I started with, but it would have been less than £100. And I've had a really good run. And my thing on roulette was I'd have specific numbers, have a specific section of the wheel called tier. But when I was just doing the 50-50 chances, the red and black, whatever the previous colour was, I'd just bet that colour again. And I'd had a pretty good run, and I was up to £1,000 a spin. I was up to £1,000 red or black. I remember I had 12 consecutive blacks. So I was on 11 of those blacks at £1,000 a spin, and I'd got up to £20,000. So just for a bit of context, at 19 years old, I worked in a gym as a personal trainer, and I was getting paid £4.82 an hour. So £20,000 was more than a year's salary. And I've just won it in, I don't know how many hours. Just, that feeling of, as the money's there on the screen, I was like, the holiday that I'm going to go on. I wasn't driving at the time, so I was going to do my driving test. I was going to buy this amazing car, take my girlfriend on this amazing holiday. Yeah, just the thrill, the satisfaction of that win. Like I said, I had these accounts from when I was younger than 18, so there was no verification of stuff. So withdrawing that money actually proved a little bit difficult. I found a roundabout way to do it, and it ended up coming out this way, and then through PayPal. So basically, it was going to take a while to get to me. I just remember every day I'd wake up, first thing, straight to the computer, refresh balance, 0. Next day, refresh balance, 0. It's not there. This particular Thursday, I think it was about 8, 9, 10 days later, refresh balance, bam, 5 figures. Like, I've never seen money like that in my life. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I can retire. 19 years old, I was going to retire. I was set for life. I'd finally got that big win that I'd been chasing since the age of 14 when I won on that horse. I was in work at 2 p.m. that day. So this was about 10 a.m. when I discovered the money. My shift in the gym started at 2 p.m. By the time I went to work at 2 p.m., I had £300 left in that account. I'd given it all straight back on Betfair roulette again. Just the thought to start was just, I started with, I can't remember, £80 and I made £20,000. If I start with £20,000, what can I turn that into? And yeah, I just remember going into work like an absolute zombie.
My head's going to fall off here with these stories. I wasn't expecting this. This is mad. I've just got to circle back quickly about your mum, and there's going to be so much in this that I'm probably going to abandon my previous questions because your story is just so fascinating. You love your mum, of course. Is there a small part of you now that wishes you would have been reprimanded a bit more for that?
No, I wouldn't change a thing. I've often introduced myself in my Gamblers Anonymous meetings as a grateful, recovering, compulsive gambler.
Okay.
So I say today, this Daniel sitting here talking to you right now is the best version of myself I've ever been. And the reason I am the best version of myself is because I had to go through all that pain, all that struggle, all that horribleness for 20 plus years to realize I don't want to live like this anymore. And I had to make all of these positive changes, and I had to become the person that I am now. And that wouldn't have happened without I heard this recently. Without my addiction, I wouldn't have my recovery, and I love my recovery. Would not change a thing.
I love that. I really love that, and I feel the same. Yeah, I do feel the same about my recovery. So I completely get where you're coming from. I think there was just a part of me that thought, if you could have just shut the door, or somehow, but like you say, the ripple effect of where you are now comes from the perceived good and bad, makes you who you are. So let's keep it moving. So what happens after this? You're working in a gym, £4.82, but you've got bigger aspirations for financial gain on Betfair roulette.
My life
What happens
is
now?
just consumed by gambling. Literally, my shift in the gym, if I was on the early shift, I'd start at 6:30 a.m. My routine would be going and we'd get free papers delivered, the Guardian, the Daily Mail, the Daily Express. By the time I'm all set up in the gym and ready to open, I'd just be standing behind the counter for the first hour or two of the shift. I'd just have the newspaper behind and I'd be picking my horses out for the day. I had a particular jockey, Seb Sanders. I loved him. Whatever he was on, I'd back that. But there was a lot of reputation about it where I felt I knew better. Like I'm doing my research, if you like. Like, look at this jockey. This one jockey is going all the way to that racetrack just for that one ride. It's definitely going to win. And just that false sense of control. I suffered with that my entire addiction, where I thought I knew better than everybody else and I was in control. And the couple of times when the wins did come, that would justify it to me. That would back up my theory of I know better than everyone else. I know what I'm doing here. Next time I'll bet bigger because I've got this much, but next time I'll bet bigger. And yet my life was just consumed by it. Looking back, I can see how it was an escape, how I was using it as an escape. But during the addiction, I was convinced it was always about the money. Like I remember age 22, I split up with my girlfriend. The first thing I did, straight to the casino. I had money saved up to do my driving lessons. That money just went in the night, straight to the casino. Any negative thing that happened, I was unable to deal with. Like, again, I'll go back to my mum. In my house, if I was sad, if I was unhappy, the thing my mum would tell me out of sheer love, out of not wanting to see her son upset, she'd say, it's okay, don't be sad. That taught me that it's not okay to be sad. I should be happy. So anytime anything negative happened or I felt down, I didn't know how to deal with that. So I'd need to escape. And the best way for me, the best way I thought the best way at the time was to go and gamble, go and feel good about myself gambling and just escape these negative feelings. I remember failing my driving test at 24. Again, the money I had saved up for a car, boom, gone in the casino that night. I just couldn't deal. I'm going to say a line from the Gamblers Anonymous combo book here. I couldn't deal with life on life's terms. I just needed to go and escape every time something bad happened.
I love that line, and I'm having a bit of an epiphany moment here because I feel like so much of my gambling was down to not being content to sit in my emotions. If the day was a 5 or a 6 out of 10, rather than just being like, that's okay, tomorrow's another day, I would want to change my state. And similar to what you were saying there about, it's not an option to be sad. We don't be sad, where there's a purpose for all emotions. So actually there's nothing wrong with being sad for a temporary period of time. And we're probably similar in that regard, that we've just tried to kind of force our way out of that. So you're 22 when you split up with your girlfriend. You're in casinos now, I take it. You're in more of a bit more money in your pocket than when you were 14. How has that accelerated things?
Yeah,
now?
I moved from the gym to working in restaurants, and restaurants were always paid in cash. So it was always easy money, easy come, easy go. And I just didn't have the value for money. And no matter how much I earned, as the years went on, I progressed and I worked my way up to general manager eventually. But it was the same. It was always 100% of my income was going on gambling. My phone bill was in my sister's name, so I didn't even need to have money in my account for that. I was getting paid cash, so I didn't even have a bank account. My travel to work, I just asked my mum to put money on the stairs before she goes to work, so I've got money for the bus. And then once I learned to drive, I had a company car. I had zero outgoings. I had no commitments. I was, up until the age of 28, I just had zero commitments. I had no responsibilities. So all my money was just going on gambling. It was literally, like I keep saying, my life just revolved around it. That's all that mattered to me. I've spoke a couple of times about reputation as well. I was sort of feeling invincible at this point, and I'm like age 24, 25 now. I've got this, I actually had a lease car that was from this dodgy company in Liverpool that also provided cars for certain Liverpool players. And if I got pulled over by the police, which happened quite often because it was an Aldi S-Line when I was 24 years old, I had this amazingly fast car. And as anyone who's listened so far can see, I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I'm very compulsive. If I got pulled over by the police, I had to come up with this elaborate story that I'm waiting on a new car to be delivered from this company, because the insurance name would be the lady who's rented us this car. So I'd have to say, I'm waiting on a car to be delivered into the country from her. This is just a lease car that she's given me in the meantime. And they say, okay, you need to speak to her on Monday morning. She needs to change the insurance over. I'm like, yep, no problem. I'll get that done. And I used that excuse about 3 or 4 times. At this point, I'm in the restaurant. I'm feeling invincible. I'm drink driving 3, 4 times a week. I'd finish in my restaurant. I'd go to the pub across the road. I'd have 2 or 3 drinks with my friends who work there while they're closing up. Once they close and they start their clean up, I'd drive back home. So I'm probably already over the limit at this point. I've had 2 or 3 drinks. I'd get changed, drive back to the pub. They'd be finished. They'd jump in the car. I'd drive us into the city centre, and then we'd be out all night. And then I'd drive everybody home. And I remember my sister saying to me, Daniel, why'd you do this? I don't want to have to bury my baby brother. And I remember intently going, because I get away with it. Why wouldn't I do it? I get away with it. There's no problem. And I made a promise to her. I said, if anything ever happens, I promise you I'll stop. And then this one fateful night in 2012, my last memory, there's a massive hill by my mum's house. And I've driven this hill. I've driven down this road to get home to my mum's house 10,000 times. It's like a left turn, and then the road is probably a kilometre long. It's a big, massive right turn, and it's a hill the whole way down. And then the last bit is a sharp left, and then literally a vertical drop. And my last memory is having a bottle of rosé wine in my mouth as I'm driving, as I'm making this left turn to the top of the hill. I've got a bottle of rosé wine in my mouth. I've passed it to my friends in the car. And then I've got no memory of the incident. The information I'm going to give you now is based on the markings that were left on the road and the witness statements from everybody else in the car. As I'm getting to the bottom of the hill, I've been going so fast that I've lost control as I'm coming to that left turn. I've clipped, my back left wheel has clipped the curb. I've been going that fast and I've hit it with that much force. The car has then flipped over onto the left side. So the car is now riding down the hill on the two left doors, if you like, the front door and the passenger door. I'm in the driver's seat. I don't have my seatbelt on, so I've fell into the passenger seat now. It hits another curb, flips over onto the roof, and then slides down this glass verge and finishes up resting against the back wall of a pub. Still no memory. Apparently, I was lying inside the car on the roof of the car. The four other people in the car have all got out, and one of the airbags had been deployed. So there's all dust or smoke, whatever it is, coming from when the airbag had been deployed. So it looks like the car's going on fire. And everybody's like, Daniel, get out. The car's going on fire. You need to get out. And I'm so out of it. Apparently, I said, it's okay. Just go back to sleep. Everyone's okay. And I refused to leave the car. When the fire brigade got there, they had to cut the doors off and get inside to pull me out. The only vague memory I've got of the incident is when I was getting wheeled through the hospital and they're like, who are you? We need to know who you are. And I remember saying, I'm nobody. Don't worry about who I am. I don't want anyone to know about this. And then I obviously only remember that afterwards that came back to me. But my first memory is just waking up all dazed in a hospital bed and my sister's standing next to me. And I'm just like, what's going on? And then I open my eyes and there's a policeman at the bottom of my bed. And I say to my sister, I'm like, why is there a copper at the bottom of my bed? And my sister's just like, shh, it's okay. You've had the crash. And I just instantly remembered that I was out the night before and what I was doing. And my heart just sank. I was just like, oh no. And my first question was, how's everybody else? There was four other people in the car. How's everybody else? And luckily, everybody was okay. One girl did suffer a couple of injuries, but nothing life-threatening. My sister said to me, everybody's okay, everybody's fine. You're the worst. You've got brain damage. And actually, as I've fell over as I've gone down to the left side of the car, I've sliced all my head open here, and I'd had an emergency procedure on me that night before I woke up. The two places I had brain damage, it was two different parts of my brain. It was the memory part. And then the irony is I can't remember what the other part was. I keep meaning to find that information out because I really do feel it's impacting me now in my later life. My short-term memory is like ridiculously I feel it is really affecting me in later life now. Like I had to go to brain training. I had to go to this clinic twice a week for like 6 weeks afterwards to make sure like my memory was redeveloping and stuff. But yeah, I really struggled with that afterwards. The four people in the car, one of the girls in the car was amazing. She stood by me. The other three all turned on me and all wrote really damning statements so they could get a better claim, so they could get more money from me. And that really sort of destroyed my faith in humanity. And I was like in my mum's house for like 4 weeks refusing to come out. And that really did have a really negative impact, a really negative effect on me. And the gambling just escalated from there because I didn't want to deal. Like reality had just gotten so much worse. So I just needed that escape of gambling more than ever.
Wow, what a story. Gambling, it's one of those things, isn't it, where when you're in that level of trauma, that kind of thing going on, people turning against you, You're losing your faith in humanity, like you say. It's almost the perfect companion, isn't it? Because you can just be isolated and you can just retreat into your head further, and it almost makes more sense to do it when you don't want to face the outside world. Wow, I mean that's quite something. The impact of that accident. So this is late 20s now. I'm taking
Mid to
that
late 20s, yeah.
into late 20s. So did you notice a silly question, but a further regression in your, capacity to control the gambling?
There was just, yeah, there was never any control. I think I was still in denial at this point that it was an addiction. Age 26, a year after the crash, was the first ever time I self-excluded, but I was made to go and self-exclude by my family from the free casinos in Liverpool. And yeah, I remember getting forced to do it, but I just, at this point, casinos weren't my main thing. It was more sports betting. So I was still able to go in the bookies. There was no self-exclusion at the time from them. And if there was, they didn't take it very serious. I'm not sure what it's like now in the UK, but I know back then it wasn't a viable option to help you stop. And the restaurant that I worked in had a bookmakers 2 doors down, and it was just like running out of work every half an hour, every hour. I always had the intention of I'd pick one horse or I'd pick one football game, and that was my big bet. I was never die by 1,000 small cuts. If I've got £100, I'm putting £100 on a single bet. If I've got £500, it's going on a single bet. But the problem was, after I'd lose, I need that money back. I want that money back right now. And then I'd do whatever I could to get my hands on money. I knew that was happening at the time, but looking back, I can also see that even when I won, it was like, wow, that felt good. Winning £500 felt so good. Wow, what's it going to feel like to win £2,000? So I'd go back. So just, if I won, I'd want to go again. If I lost, I'd want to go again. There was no end goal. It was stupid. Like, not the fact that I couldn't see it at the time. Just to emphasize how much my life revolved around gambling. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I've took her to the airport to go on a girls' holiday. And literally, I've drove from the airport to the casino. I've dropped her off and I've gone straight to the casino. And at this point, one of the casinos in Liverpool stopped needing ID, stopped needing you to show your driver's license. So I just gave a fake name in, because I was self-excluded, so I couldn't get in, but I just gave a fake name in and I was able to go in. So I've took a picture, a selfie in the lobby, and sent it to my friends, and I'm like, look where I am. It's going to be a good night tonight. And then I don't know how many spins of roulette I got before all of a sudden this arm just came over my shoulder and dragged me back, pulled me away. And it was the manager in there who'd obviously seen me behaving like a degenerate for the last 8 years before that. And he's kicked me out and threw me out. A week and a half later, I'm just sitting on my bed. My girlfriend's next to me, and I can't remember what she's doing, but she's on my phone for some reason. And she's seen that picture of me, the selfie that I've took in the casino, the lobby. And she just asks me, like, what's this? And I'm just stumped for words. I'm like, So she picks up the nearest thing to her and just throws it at me. So just to emphasize how much my life revolved around gambling, the thing she picked up was a deck of cards. Just everything in my life was gambling. This deck of cards just got flung at my face. A year later, I remember, I hope your viewers remember, I said before, I made that promise to my sister. If anything ever happens, I'll stop the drink driving. I drove to my friend's wedding in Wigan. It was about a 45-minute drive outside of Liverpool, and I was staying over in Wigan. It was in between me crashing the car and me losing my license. There was about a 12-month window. So my car's obviously been written off. My car's been totaled in the accident. I've borrowed my friend's car to drive to this wedding. Had an amazing time at the wedding. It's all old friends from the gym. Had a fantastic time. It's a free bar. And then I've come up with the idea towards the end of the night. Hey everyone, let's go to the casino. And I can see I'm dangling the carrot out. I've got a few takers, and they're like, "But we're in Wigan." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's in Liverpool. Don't worry, I'll drive us there." And then it sort of fizzles out. The idea of me drink driving, no one's encouraging it. It sort of fizzles out, and I don't end up getting any takers. Nobody wants to go. It's all like, no, we've had a good night. Come on, everyone, back to your hotels, and we'll meet for breakfast in the morning. That fire has been lit inside of me. I need to go to the casino now. The fact that I thought we were going But now everyone's pulled away. I'm like, no, it's burning. This desire's burning inside of me now. So I don't even go into the hotel. I go to the car park, straight in the car, and I do that 45-minute drive back to the casino. I remember almost missing the turn off on the motorway, and I've seen it that late. I've actually drove across the grass. So I don't know, I'm probably doing 80, 90 miles an hour, 150, 140 kilometers an hour. And I've drove across the grass to make it up this grass verge. And I just remember thinking as I'm going up the turn off, I'm like, oh wow, that was close. And again, looking back, it's like I'd promised my sister I'd never drink drive again, but the power of the addiction made me drink drive. It's not my car. It's a friend's car that I could have just smashed to pieces. I'm not insured on this car. I shouldn't even be driving this car to begin with. And I'm drink driving this car at ridiculous speeds to get to New Brighton. I couldn't even go to the casinos in Liverpool. I got halfway back and I was like, I'm self-excluded from the casinos. And I had to go to the next closest casino that I could get to. I've gone to the casino and I've actually had a good night. And I can't remember what I started with, but I remember getting to £5,000 and I'm like, brilliant. What a night. Let's get out with this money. I can drive back to the hotel, have a nice sleep and go for breakfast with everyone in the morning. I remember cashing in my chips. I've got this wad of cash. I'm dressed from the wedding. I'm obviously looking a bit smart. I've put the £5,000 in my inside pocket and I'm walking to the exit. Well, on the way to the exit, there's 3 roulette tables and the roulette screens are obviously all there saying the previous numbers. And I had this thing, whenever a 0 came in, whatever the colour was before the 0, I'd always bet the opposite colour. So if it was black, then 0, I'd want to bet red. If it was red 0, I'd want to bet black. A 0 had just popped in. And I'm like, oh, go on, I can't miss this. I've got to do it. So I've took a certain amount out of the £5,000 to place this bet. And like I've just said, once I lose that little bit of money, I need it back right now. 25 minutes later, 30 minutes later, £5,000 gone. I've got nothing left. That dreaded walk of shame back to the car, and I'm like, I'm not even going back to the hotel. Fuck this. And I just drive home and go to sleep. A lot of people who suffer gambling addiction say they struggle with sleep. They struggle to fall asleep. They have the weight of the world on their shoulders. I'm very fortunate in the fact I never struggled with sleep because sleep was my escape. My reality was so fucking horrendous. When I'd go to sleep, I could just escape it all. None of that stuff mattered in my sleep. I wasn't in debt up to my eyeballs. I wasn't drink driving. I wasn't driving friends' cars with no insurance, drink driving. I could go to sleep at the drop of a hat. It was that next morning when I'd wake up with the gambling hangover, I wouldn't want to come out of the covers. But I'm very fortunate. I've never struggled with sleep. But that's what the addiction, I meant what I said to my sister when I promised I'll never drink drive again. Meant every word of it. And then just to fill that need, fill that urge that's upon me in that moment, happily drink drive for an hour to go and place a bet. It's insanity.
Wow. I mean, so I've always thought this about sleep as well, because I think you're probably one of the only other people I've spoken to in recovery that have not been lying there just ruminating on their. I'm out like a light. Even in my deepest, darkest days of addiction, never have I had a sleepless night. And I think, like you said, I never really thought about it that way. It's because there's so much turmoil in the mind day to day that your body's going to, by hook or by crook, get some recovery. So, like, you wake up in the morning with the feeling of the morning after the night before. Did that really happen? And then the madness starts. But you can get some sleep, which even after crazy roller coaster type binges very late at night. Wow, just fantastic stories. So, okay, so we're on the timeline now. Are we 30 yet? Or are we?
Almost. Age 28. So I was always, people ask me like, how did you do this to your family? How did you do this to the ones you loved? I was always set on, once I get that big win, I'm going to buy everybody's forgiveness. I can buy a holiday home for my mum in Australia, where I live in Sydney, so she can come and visit whenever she wants. I'll buy everybody's forgiveness. Everyone forgive me for all the sleepless nights that they've had because of me, because of the things that I've done. This moment at 28 should have made me realize that doesn't happen. That casino that I went to, New Brighton, again, the only one I can get into because I'm self-excluded from all the others. I had a big win in there, and I remember coming home about 6 a.m. There's me and 2 friends, and we've all won. and we're listening to the radio DJ doing the morning show, and I've got his private number, and I message him saying, can you give us a shout out? We're on the way back from the casino. He gives us a shout out on the radio. We're just having the best time ever. And I get home about 7 a.m. My mum's obviously getting ready for work, and I walk in and she's like, where have you been? And I'm like, I've look at this, and I pull out this £10,000 from my inside pocket. And she's like, it's just like speechless. I'm like, I've been to the casino. Look what I've won. She's like, you've gambled again. I'm like, yeah, but look what I've won. And she's like, I don't care. You've gambled again. You said you weren't going to do it, and you've gambled again. That should have been an eye-opening moment in that moment there and then, that I can't buy my mum's forgiveness. She wants what's best to me, and she knows I shouldn't gamble. No matter how much I win, she doesn't want me to do it. Whereas I was always under the impression, once I win, everyone will forgive me. My two friends were going traveling 2 weeks after this win. So I said to my mum, you take this money. I can't trust myself. You hold on to it. I'm going to go traveling in 2 weeks' time. In that 2 weeks, I was able to get my hands on £5,000 from another source, lost that, had to go and tell my mum, I need £5,000 of my money back. I've got to put this money back where I've took it from. And again, I spoke earlier about there wasn't much discipline. I remember pulling up outside my mum's work. I've wound my window down. She walks up to the window, throws this envelope of cash at me, and just walks off. So again, just like not addressed. Just, it's clear she's angry, but it was just never spoken about. So I've put the £5,000 back, and luckily I was unable to get access to the other £5,000. My mum still had it, so I was able to go travelling 2 weeks later. Went round Southeast Asia, finished in Australia. On my second to last night, I met my now wife, took her to the opera. I met her at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, Saturday morning. I said to her, tomorrow's my last day in Sydney, my last night in Sydney. Let me take you to the opera. I was under the impression, two birds, one stone. I can say I've took an Aussie girl out, and I can say I've been to the opera house. She's like, it's 2 a.m. on a Friday night, Saturday morning. You'll never be able to get opera tickets for tomorrow. I'm like, challenge accepted. Give me a number. I'll speak to you tomorrow. So I look online the next morning. Opera tickets, most expensive ones to try and impress her, £500 a ticket. I'm like, oh, sheesh. So I've got no money left. It's my last day. I'd actually been in the casino earlier in the holiday, so I had no money left. I had to message my mum and my sister back home, and they wired me the money over. I was able to buy those tickets, and I took my now wife out on a really nice date. We had a really nice time. She was coming to Europe a few months later. I said, don't go down south. It's full of plonkers down there. Come up to Liverpool and see me. Come and spend some time with me. So she rearranged their London trip and come and stayed in Liverpool for a week. And we really hit it off, developed a relationship, and we did long distance for a year. And then we said, it's too expensive every time we want to see each other. It's £1,000 a flight every time we want to see each other. One of us needs to move. I just looked up at the grey skies, being the impulsive, compulsive person that I am. I was like, yep, I'll pack up 28 years of my life and move to Australia. Let's go. So it was January. I'd decided to go, and I was heading over in May. So I wanted to get myself right. I was like, I need to get myself better. I need to get on top of this addiction. So I'd say age 28 into 29 was the first ever time I put some recovery work in. It wasn't just abstinence. I saw a gambling counsellor for the first ever time. I did GA properly. I actually turned up. I didn't just go to please somebody else. I was actually going for me. By the time I moved to Australia, I had a bit of clean time behind me. And when I got to Australia, it was like a new lease of life. My credit score wasn't damaged by all these credit cards that had never paid off. I was clean for about 8 months over there. So I was working full time as soon as I got there. So I had a regular income going into my bank account. I had a credit card that I'd hardly ever used, so I had a really good credit score over there, and things were amazing. The counsellor made me see things that I'd never seen before, made me understand things that I'd never understood before, like my levels of anxiety and stuff like that. That wasn't just trying to avoid a bet. That was actually dealing with what's going on inside of me. And that was a real eye-opener then, the fact that, wow. And that was the first ever time I was able to link my gambling to my mum and dad splitting up as well when I was young. So I moved over to Australia in May 2016. September 2017, I discovered Bitcoin. I remember my brother talking about this internet money. And I remember me and my family talking about him and being like, what's he up to now? What's he putting all his money in, this bloody funny money? When I discovered it 2 months later, I discovered it through a leverage trading app. So for anyone who doesn't know, leverage trading is basically investing on steroids. It multiplies your profit, but it also multiplies your losses. But it gets to a point where if it goes down a certain amount, you get liquidated and you lose all your money. Your trade is cancelled and your money's gone. It's not like an investment where it can go down and come back up. If it goes down to a certain level, depending on how much risk you took, you lose all of your money. So that's what I discovered Bitcoin on. I didn't discover just buying Bitcoin. I discovered basically betting whether Bitcoin was going to go up or Bitcoin was going to go down. Discovered it on a Friday night, and I'm going to change my currency now to dollars because I'm in Australia at this point. I made $4,000 on the first night of doing it. And that 18 months of abstinence that I had, gone. Just the inferno was lit inside of me again. I was like, this is what I was supposed to be doing. I wasn't supposed to be betting on football, betting on horses, doing the roulette wheel. I was supposed to be doing Bitcoin. This is where I'm going to win the million. This is where it's all going to finally come true. The next day, that's Saturday, we were going on a scenic hike, what's called the Blue Mountains, this very beautiful place just outside of Sydney. So we're in Aldi in the morning, stocking up on our supplies. And I remember looking, and that $4,000 profit is slowly dripping down. It's slowly starting to dip. And I'm like, fucking hell. So I'm trying to put more money on and increase my bets. I'm going to say bets because it was betting. As I was doing it, I was like, this isn't betting, this is investing. It was fucking betting on steroids. So I'm just going to refer to it as betting. I was just putting all these bets on. And by the time we got to the Blue Mountains, as you can imagine, it's all rocky terrain. The signal isn't very good. I'm walking around with my phone up in the air. Julie's like asking me, what are you doing? I'm like, it's fine. I'm trying to get a signal for this. By the time we left the Blue Mountains, I'd lost that $4,000 profit. I'd lost the money that I originally put in. I had some savings behind me because I was working full time and didn't have any debts in Australia. I'd put all of the savings in, and the credit card that I hadn't used was fully maxed out, all within the space of 2 hours, where I didn't even have a very good phone signal. It was just back instantly. So for the next 3 months, up until about November of that year, I've just gone crazy. The bank that I was using, because I keep saying my credit score was immaculate over in Australia, they gave me a $25,000 loan for a wedding that I told them it was for, that obviously I wasn't having. By the end of November, by the end of 2017, I'd lost a total of $57,000 on Bitcoin, and probably 50,000 of it wasn't mine. It was loan, credit card, my girlfriend at the time's credit card. The addiction just came back overnight.
I mean, I've never been into crypto, but there's a bit of an education there, what you were saying about that with the leverage trading, that can get dangerous very, very quickly. And no pun intended, but at this time the stakes were raised. I'm guessing a bit because you're gambling with other people's money and that. So let's move it. I'm absolutely hooked here. That's a long expression, but like, so okay, so you're in your 30s now. Potential life partner, one hell of a lavish, expensive first date, by the way. And you're into the world of crypto now. I'm going to make the assumption that it doesn't stop there.
Compared to my gambling addiction, it was a very cheap date. But you've just said I'm educating you on it. This is not the purpose of me telling this story. The purpose of this story is to scare people away and make people aware of how dangerous leverage trading can be, how much money you can lose that isn't yours. So I did stop in that moment. Julie chose to stick with me on the one condition that she now controls the finances. I have no access to my account. She controls it all. This lady's amazing. I'm more than happy to do that. One thing I did forget to mention, just how amazing she is. I told her about my addiction before I moved to Australia in 2016. I told her my deepest, darkest secrets and everything. I fully put everything out on the table for her. She'd found the local Gamblers Anonymous meeting for me to attend when I first got there in Australia. That's how supportive and amazing she was. So after I'd done that, the end of 2017, she stood by me, said, I control the money now moving forward. I'm more than happy to do that. I was doing GA properly again. I was seeing a gambling counsellor, And I managed to, I'm very careful with this next word, I managed to abstain for 18 months. I didn't recover. I abstained for 18 months. My first daughter was born when I was 32. And that was my justification for, I haven't got time for the meetings anymore. I'm cured. I haven't gambled for 18 months. I haven't bet on Bitcoin for 18 months. I don't need to do the meetings anymore. Across those 18 months, I addressed absolutely zero issues. I just stayed away from crypto. So I couldn't watch the Formula One because every advertising hoarding was crypto.com. I couldn't watch the UFC. Every square in the octagon was crypto.com, every advertising square. Once my first daughter was born, I remember thinking it had been like 2 years at this point. I remember thinking, right, I should be out of debt now. That $57,000, that $50,000 of debt that I left behind in 2017. I didn't know where we were up to because I had no access to the accounts at all. Julie dealt with everything herself, but I thought we'll be paid off surely. It's been 2 years. I remember speaking to Julie about it, and we still had some debt, and that was a trigger for me to go back to it. I was like, "Are we still in debt? I've been living this frugal lifestyle. I haven't had any disposable income for 2 years," and that triggered me to go back into the financial worry, knowing I wasn't as well off as I thought I was. I need that money now. So I managed to manipulate Julie, and I was making up all these stories about all this insider information that I have on Bitcoin. I know it's going to double across the next couple of months. Let's take this loan out. We'll put the money in. Over a couple of months, it'll double. We'll take the loan back out. We'll pay that off, and we'll have all this money for free. She eventually accepts. I was going to say reluctantly. She was reluctant to begin with. I eventually manipulated her enough that she comes around to it. So this is just how low the addiction can take you. That girl that was so supportive of me, that stood by me when I did that in 2017. I've now got my first daughter born, and my wife is pregnant with our second daughter. So it's all starting to pile up on me. I'm thinking we need to be out of debt. I've got 2 kids shortly. I need this money. So I'm just doing Bitcoin on steroids. I'm just trying to get it as quickly as possible. Instead of playing the waiting game and doing what I should have, investing in Bitcoin and just setting it and forgetting it, which is what I told Julie I was going to do. That lasted like 2 weeks. And then I started playing around with it and started increasing the leverage. So by the end, I was using 100x leverage. So it means 100 times. So if Bitcoin went up 1%, I doubled my money. If it went down 1%, I lost everything. So the volatility of Bitcoin, it can move 10% in a day. So I've convinced Julie, take this loan out. We get this $35,000 loan. I put it in. I can't remember how long, but eventually the loan is gone. My wife is pregnant with our second daughter, and I'm like, I cannot do this to her. I cannot put her under this stress. It won't be good for her. It won't be good for my unborn child. So I reach out to my family back in England, and I pull on their heartstrings and say, listen, I've done this. I can't tell Julie. Once she's given birth, I'll tell her. I can't do it now while she's pregnant. Can someone help me out? My mum takes out a loan herself in England, and then she can't just send me the money across because Julie is the one who controls the bank. She'll see it's come from my mum. She has to convert it into crypto, send it into my crypto wallet. Then I have to withdraw it from my crypto wallet to my bank account. I tell Julie, right, pay off the loan. The money's there. She pays off the loan. I screenshot the loans all paid off. I send it to my family back home. I'm like, right, it's all done. In 4 months, I'll tell Julie the truth. I'll tell her everything that's happened. The very next day, I call the loan company and I say, I've made a mistake. I was only meant to make a 1 week payment. I've accidentally paid the full loan off. Can I please have the loan back? Within 10 minutes, that money's in my account again. I again have to bullshit my way around Julie because Julie can see the loan's paid off and that's gone back in. Again, I have to tell her this story of, I've just got this extra bit of information. Bitcoin is going to do this. Let's bloody get it back in now. I was stupid for withdrawing it. Let me get it back in. And again, just back to the madness. I don't know how long it lasted, but it's the first ever time I didn't have trouble sleeping, but I'd lie awake on purpose. I'd just have the Bitcoin chart on my phone in my face and I'd just be watching it. Oh, I've just made 6 grand. Oh, I've just lost 4. Oh, I've just made 10. Oh, I've just lost 20. And it was just a roller coaster like that. When it all finally came crashing down, I remember every single minute of it. I've woke up at 2 a.m. on a Friday night, Saturday morning. I'm in work at 6 a.m. on this Saturday. So I start looking at the charts, and Julie's asleep next to me, but I'm scared she'll see the account. She might wake up and see the screen. So I move downstairs. I move down to the couch. At this point, I'm about $116,000 in between, again, loans, credit cards, everything else. I start playing about on the charts with 100x leverage. I have a really good run for like 2 hours. By the time I'm packing up, by the time I'm putting it away to get ready to go to work for 6 a.m., I've almost got it all back. I'm almost back up to $116,000. Like, I'm back into triple figures. I remember sitting there going, wow, you've almost got it all back. You can stop when you get it all back. And there was a voice in the back of my head that just went, you won't stop. And I just buried it. Like, that was, now looking back, I can see that was genuinely my voice saying that. And it was the addiction's voice saying, just don't worry about that voice. Forget that voice. You'll be fine. This was the Friday night, Saturday morning. By the Tuesday, I'd lost it all. It was all gone. I remember I was hiding in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet, doing it, hiding away from my wife, like a fucking little coward, hiding in the bathroom, doing this. And I just remember the last trade I executed. It was just a Hail Mary. And then it was actually on the Monday night, and I've woke up on the Tuesday, and it's all gone. It's the last bit's been liquidated. I'm empty.
And that's your most recent gambling up until this day?
No. So I obviously have to come clean to my family back in England, what I've done. And I have to now tell my wife, who's 6 months pregnant at this point. So I go to my Gamblers Anonymous meeting, and the meeting's finishing about 10 p.m. And I say to it's been about 10 days since that Tuesday where I'm cowering like a little child in the bathroom, losing the last bit of the money. So I've just been going on for 10 days like everything's normal. Like, I'm on the verge of a mental breakdown. The one thing Julie never asked was to see the Bitcoin account. So I never had to prove I had the money there, but I knew I was going to have to tell her at some point. So about 10 days go by. I'm like on the verge of a mental breakdown every single day, but I just hang on to that one little bit of normality that I haven't told her yet, so everything's still normal. I tell everyone in the meeting, I say, if Julie's still awake when I get home, I'm going to come clean. I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell her everything. 10 p.m, meeting finishes. I'm driving home, driving down the road, turn right, pull up onto my driveway. I look, every light is off in the house. And I'm like, yes, I don't have to tell her. Fucking beautiful. It changes nothing. It doesn't change the damage that I've done, the absolute financial disaster that I've created, but I can just live another day in this lie. Walk up the steps, put my key in the door, swing the door open, and the house I used to live in was a long hallway, and then the kitchen's at the back, at the end of the hallway, straight ahead of you. As soon as you walk in, the kitchen light's on, and my heart just sinks. Like, I couldn't see that from the front of the house. That's why I thought all the lights were off. So I know she's in there. So I'm like, I've got to tell her. I said I was going to do it. I'm going to do it. Walk into the kitchen, and as I walk into the kitchen, it's like a rectangle shape over to the left. There's a table in front of me, and my wife stood at the sink. So I just sit down at the table in front of me, and I just, across about a 30-second speech, I tell her everything, and how it's all gone. And I can still remember just sitting there looking to the left, and she just turns around. So she's got her back to the sink. She slumps down, slides down the counter. She's 7 months pregnant. And she just lets out this noise, this cry. And I go to push my chair back and stand up and get over to her as quickly as I can. And she just screams at me not to come near her. Just don't touch me, don't come near me. And eventually that night I go to bed. I do not want to come out from under those covers, but I have to go to work. I've got so much debt that I now need to pay off. Go to work that day, come home, and my wife has my suitcase packed at the door ready for me. Anyone listening would fully justify her kicking me out. She's that amazing. She's not even kicking me out. She is sending me to my uncle's house which she sort of is kicking me out there, but let me explain. She's sending me to my uncle's house, who lives in North Sydney. And then she's getting me, if I agree to it, she's going to book me a place in a rehab centre in 2 weeks' time, a 3-week inpatient rehab centre. And I'm just, yes, 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 on every angle. Can't wait to get there and get it done. I learned so much in rehab, but when I come out, I've got 2 young children. My life is pretty chaotic and I don't practice everything I've learned. I think it's just like I've took a pill and now I'm fine, I'm cured. And 6 months later, I go back to Bitcoin again. Luckily, I'm pretty open with it and I tell Julie what's happened and she's able to stop it really quickly. And I realize in that moment, I'm like, everything I did, everything I've been through, everything I learned in rehab, and I still can't stop. I remember while I was in rehab, someone come in, they were in rehab 2 years previous and they come in to give a talk. And he said, there's three types of people who are in this rehab center right now. There's people who are here on a court order, people who are here to avoid going to jail. There's people who are here to please someone else. And there's people who are here who genuinely want to get sober. I thought I wanted to genuinely get sober. I was just there because I got told to go by my wife. I realized in that moment, 6 months later, I need to get better for me. I need to want this. I can't want this for Haley and Hannah, my 2 daughters. I can't want this to be a better dad. I can't want this so I can be a better husband. I need to not want to live this crazy, chaotic life anymore. I need to want the peace of recovery. And then I can be that amazing dad to my daughters. I can be that supportive husband to my wife. I realized in that moment, I need to want this. And October 2021, just past 4 years, I've put work in each and every day since then to make sure I've stayed on this path. And I often go back to those 2 things. I need to want this for me, and I am powerless over gambling. I cannot place that first bet. I cannot do that first trade on Bitcoin. If I do that first bet or that first trade, everything comes crumbling down. And as I've proven on every story I've told so far, as soon as I place that first bet, I'm out of control again.
I think what's fascinating to me is, and I think I remember speaking to you about this before, I'm pretty sure the time that you started with Bitcoin to the time that you ended, it was massively more valuable. But it's just the gambler in you couldn't do there it is, well, this is a 5-year thing, this is a 10-year thing, you needed the fix on the micro kind of level of, and that's obviously just goes to show that if you are a compulsive gambler, even if you've got the formula to win, you'll find a way to lose.
I say that's why I went back 6 months later, because I couldn't let go of the fact I started investing, in inverted commas, in Bitcoin when it was 4,000 US dollars. I finished investing in Bitcoin when it was 65,000 US dollars. That's an increase of 1,500%, and I lost money. I don't know anybody who invests in something, it goes up 1,500%, and they lose all their money. Finally accepting that is what's helped me now, because I do still believe 1 Bitcoin will be worth $1 million at some point in my lifetime. And I'd love to be able to do it. I'd love to be able to invest in it. But if I invested in it today, even if it did get to 1 million, that wouldn't even be a 1,500% increase. It'd be less than that. So I wouldn't make money, because even if it goes up 1,500%, I still lose money. So that's what helps me stay away today. I've proved to myself countless times, doesn't matter what price it goes to, I cannot make money doing it.
Yeah, and I admire you for surrendering to that, because that's quite something. That really is quite, when you think about it, that 15. So 4 years into recovery now, huge congratulations on that. What's life like now?
As I referred to it earlier, I am now the best version of myself I've ever been. The therapist that I saw in rehab, the psychotherapist, I now see him once a month ever since rehab. The gambling counselor, I did that religiously for like 2 years. I learned so much there. And Gamblers Anonymous, I do maybe 1 or 2 meetings online a week. I have like 5 regular ones. I try and attend 1 or 2 of them each week. Gamblers Anonymous helps me in the form of you get all types of people in there. You'll get someone who's just gambled yesterday, and I can hear the pain, the struggle in their voice. I can see how down it's got them. And that reminds me, if I go back to gambling, that's going to happen to me. That's what I'll be like. And then the person who speaks after them has been clean for 20 years. And they'll tell a story about they took their daughters to a football match yesterday. And I'm like, I can do that. I can do that. As long as I stay on this path, I can afford to treat my daughters to things like that instead of just wasting all my money. The gambling counselor helped me understand things, helped me see like bigger picture things, and helped me understand sort of why I gamble. The one exercise that he taught me was my regret remembering journal. I did this religiously for 30 days where I'd pick a gambling episode. I'd write down 5 negatives that happened. For example, I lost money. I lost trust. I wasn't able to go out with my friends the next day because I didn't have the money. I lost time being a present dad because I was too busy on my phone doing this. And just being able to write, there's something, it just creates a pathway in my brain. Writing it down rather than just thinking about it, actually writing it down makes it more real. And I say that exercise that I did early on in my recovery helped me rewire my brain. So when I think about gambling, instead of thinking about that time when I was 18, 19, when I won 20 grand, instead of thinking about the time when I almost won it all back, I almost made 100 grand in a night. Instead of thinking of those times, I can think of that time when I'm cowering in the bathroom, hiding from my wife, losing every last penny that I've got. I can think of those negative times instead of the euphoric recall where the brain automatically goes to the positive things. That's the main thing I took from my gambling counseling, and that still helps me to this day. And then the psychotherapy helped me dive into more deeper stuff. My mum and dad's divorce, how that affected me when I was younger, how my people-pleasing tendencies can build up a bit of self-resentment inside that I'm not even aware of. And then that self-hate will make me want to escape. And the best way I know to escape, go and gamble. So it's just about putting in that little bit of work each day. And even if I take a day where I go backwards, that's okay. As long as my intention the next day is to try and move forwards again, that's completely fine. That helps me not fall into the complacency that I fell into every single time throughout my addiction.
You literally beat me to it with that key word, euphoric recall. I know we've spoken about this before, but that's a big one for me. That the brain overemphasizing on the time, because you can pull on the times, you can pull on the last minute winners, you can pull on the double zeros when you just tripled your stake on it after the first one came in or whatever. But like, it's remembering that almost like that anchored emotion of those times, of looks on people's faces who you've let down, deep frustrations in you, and keeping that at the forefront of your mind. I want to ask you one more question if I can. And just absolutely magnificent story. I appreciate you being so honest and vulnerable and sharing. This has been brilliant. And it would just be, what would you say to someone who is struggling with gambling? You can interpretate that how you wish. Maybe they know they've got a problem. Maybe they don't know they've got a problem. What advice, inverted commas, would you give?
I'm going to go from 2 different angles. To the person who feels so alone right now, who feels isolated, who's keeping everything to themselves, who was me that night when I'm downstairs doing Bitcoin on my phone. Reach out and tell somebody. Addiction thrives in secrecy. The more you keep it to yourself, the more isolating it becomes, the more you will chase, the more you will just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. Find someone you can trust in, confide in, reach out. If not, find a meeting on gamblersinrecovery.com. There's online Zoom meetings all over the world there. Just go and listen to other people's stories and relate to other people. Reach out and speak to somebody. To the person that just keeps going back to their gambling, just keeps relapsing, there is hope. Look, I always say I was the biggest fuck up in the room. That's why I had to put so much work in and do Gamblers Anonymous and do gambling counseling and do psychotherapy. But attacking it from all angles finally helped me get into recovery and helps me stay in recovery. If you are struggling to stay clean, keep trying different things. If Gamblers Anonymous isn't working for you, try something different. Try a gambling counsellor. If you can't find a gambling counsellor local to you, have a look at psychotherapy, have a look at a different program. Just, there's so much support out there, but you have to dig deep and find it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you just keep doing the same thing and just keep trying to white knuckle it and willpower it through and it's not working for you, try something different. What have you got to lose?
I absolutely love that. And you touched on something there that I don't do enough of on this channel, which is to address people who are struggling. You know, I like to tell stories and anecdotes to capture awareness of it. But there are people out there who are really, really struggling. I was one of them. Daniel was one of them. And it's very, very isolating, very, very challenging, but you can recover with proactivity. There's resources out there. Daniel mentioned it. There's Gamblers Anonymous meetings that take place online, probably every other hour or something like that across the globe somewhere. There's certainly very positive ones I can vouch for. Do a couple, if I can, every single week. So yeah, do reach out to people if you're struggling. Please comment in the video or respond to all the comments. And I just want to thank Daniel again. Thanks so much for coming in and sharing that, mate. That was so good today. And guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate everyone who watches my videos. If you like this kind of content, please feel free to subscribe. Helps me reach other people about a message I am tremendously passionate about. And want to thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very, very soon. Take care.